Hello everybody. Well, I was absent last week. I'm sorry about that. Missed our video last week. I was visiting some family and took a little road trip. And then at the end of this week, probably about the time you see this video, I have more family coming in for the July 4th weekend. So it's just a busy time of summer. Not a lot of time to do leisure time to do crafts. And the time that I do have in my studio, I have spent painting for the farmer's market. However, I'm done with the farmer's market until probably mid to late September because of the heat. I just don't do these 97-degree days with terrible humidity. I just don't do it. So I'll be inside, and already I have started on another knitting project. I rediscovered my wool slippers, and I had a pair that were in terrible shape, and I did a little repair to them. I have continued to do a little repair to these slippers with some of this green wool that was given to me. I opened up a big bag of wool a few weeks ago on a video, and this was one of the wools that we had there. There was a lot of really nice wool. This is a very thick roving. Okay, it's a single. It's perfect for making felted wool slippers. This is some more 100% wool. This is Patons, so I know it's not superwash, and it's real pretty. I probably will make pumpkins out of that. But I know that I don't have enough of this green to do 2 full slippers, so I'm going to need to divide it in half by weight, so I put it on a scale to weigh it out. And I can use about 120 grams for each slipper. And then if I have a little bit at the toe, at the end of each slipper that needs to be a contrasting color, then I'll do that. And I've done that before. Even the slippers that I'm wearing right now on my feet that are just in terrible shape, that I've done these repairs to, they have layers of, stripes of color kind of thing, bands of color in the slipper, and I like that look. They don't even have to match. I think that's kind of fun. So right now I am knitting away. This is such a fast project. I started last night when we were watching TV. Lily is barking at me. No, Lily. No, no. But anyway, and I'm already through the whole heel section and moving on to the foot. I had to go back to my own YouTube video on this, which I'll put a link to up there, and look in the description underneath the video to find the pattern because I have lost my piece of paper that had the pattern on it. So I've started on the first one. I want a new pair of slippers for autumn and winter this year that don't have bumpy repairs on the bottom of the foot. And I love this sage green. It's so pretty. So that'll be great. I have more in one of those way up on the shelf. One of those, I think maybe the black box up there is the one that is full of this same wool. And I probably have other colors in there I could use for the toes. Anyway, so that's my project for this week. I'm also working on another purse. Now, if you remember the purse that I made, the cute little scrappy purse that had the beads on it, that purse sold right away at the market. I was kind of surprised and pleased. So I'm going to make another one of those, and I'm using the same scrappy idea, but I'm using totally different fabrics. Not batiks, nothing oceany looking. This is more kind of farmyard, honeybees, red plaid. But I want to add I need to incorporate a lot of beads into this. Now, what I'm doing right now for the next 2 to 3 months, I'm just going to be doing lots of craft stuff for the fall market and for myself for fall. This is probably when I'm going to finish. Oh my goodness. I don't even, you can see it. Hang on. This little tapestry weave right here, I'm about halfway through it. I need to finish that up. And I really want to take some of my homespun yarn that's all finished and ready to go. I've got a lot of that. And I want to do some weaving with that on my rigid heddle loom and make some shawls and stuff for the, instead of knitting it, I really want to, instead of knitting a bunch of little shawls, I want to weave some shawls or scarves and take them to the market in the autumn and see how they sell. I think that woven things just tend to sell faster than knitted things. That I've found that to be true in the past. People love weaving. They think it just looks fabulous. So that's my plan. If I really enjoy making this pair of slippers, I may make some more slippers. I've made Oh, I probably made about 30 pair of these slippers a few years ago and sold all of them. They were pretty popular, but they just wore me out. I did too many. That's what I tend to do. I start doing something, I get excited about it, and then I do a little overkill, and then I wear myself out. Anything else? Oh yeah, I'm still knitting my socks. I'm pretty close to the end on those. And I am still, oh yeah, I'm still spinning the yellow. And I'm almost to the end of that bobbin. Yeah, that's another, once I get that done, I'll add that to the rest of my yarn that I can use for weaving. I think that yellow, just a nice yellow yarn that's got various shades of yellow and gold in there would be really pretty in a woven shawl. All right, so let's see what we can do with these slippers this week. Well, it's a couple of days later, and I've been knitting away and knitting away. Now, some of you will remember when I made these slippers several years ago, and this won't seem strange to you, but for those of you who haven't, these things are huge when you first knit them up. Adam was asking me about it, and I told him I think that the before you wash them and shrink them up, the slippers are about, I think, 35 to 40% bigger than they will be in their finished form. So these things are huge and very boxy looking. And I wanted to go through really quickly the process of this for anybody who wants to do some of these. Let me start with this one. This is the first one I did. So you cast on 36 across here, okay? And you do, let me see. And you knit in stockinette, you knit 25 rows this way, okay? And so you have a nice rectangle. You're just going back and forth, and these are your edges here. And then you join it here. Now, I also, before I do the join, I do 2 more cast-ons, just 2 more simple cast-ons to add this little opening right here, this gentle curve. And let me show you what that looks like on the finished slipper. Now, these slippers are very old and ugly, but see this nice rounded part right here instead of a pointy little part. It's nice and rounded. That's the look you get if you add those two little cast-ons there. And it also makes the opening just big enough to be able to put your foot in easily and not struggle to get your foot in. So then you join right here, and then you're knitting in the round, which is why this looks so different than this. This is stockinette, and of course this is in the round. This is just knitting on this side. This is garter stitch. Is that right? But I've run out of yarn. I don't have any more green, and so you're supposed to do 20 rows of this. I think I maybe have 18. I tried to measure out my yarn, and I think I did a good job of getting half on one slipper and half on the other. You see I've got two different needles. I've been really actually using these because they're just the right size to knit without having any extra cable on there. So now I have to get up in my little basket and see what other yarn I have. Now I have something extra in my studio today, and it is a mattress. I have a mattress in my studio, so I'm going to have to reach over it to get that. This is because we have family coming this weekend. They're going to stay for a week, and I'm looking for places for people to sleep, and I'm going to have 2 grandchildren in this room in my studio, so I'm just going to lay this mattress on the floor, and they can sleep in here. So let me look for some new yarn, okay? Okay, let's look at my little box of wool roving. I kept this plastic bag on top so it wouldn't get dusty because it's up on the shelf. Now, I really don't remember what all was in here, and I might want to find one that is similar in thickness to this. This will be interesting. I must have bought that at that store in Warrenton. This is significantly thinner, so we'll put both of those aside. This is the kind of roving I used for a long time. Yeah, this is that KC, which just stands for knit and crochet. And it is from Joanne. Is it Joanne's, I think, that does this? And I made so many. Before it was KC, it was called Buttercream, I think. And I bought it at Joanne's. But you see, it's no wonder it was easier to knit these before, because the thickness of that is a lot thinner. The only thing I have that is similar is this. Now this made a very chunky slipper. I made a couple of pairs out of that, and that would be comparable. And because this green yarn that I'm using, the green roving, because it is so thick, I may end up being able to see those rows. We'll just have to see. But I need to, I could use something like this, and I could double it up and put it on the toe. I love this color on the toe. I think it's kind of cute. I just have, I think, about 2 or 3 more rows left before I'll start the reduction to the toe, and that goes pretty fast because you do a knit 2 together 4 times with each round, and kind of scattering that reduction out until you get down to just 8 stitches. So there's not very far to go. And then I'll show you what happens after that. Then you come back, and this was your cast on originally. Well, if you have left a nice long tail, you use that tail to sew this up, and this will go down to the toe. It'll be about out here. And then you wear them until they need to be washed again, and you wash them again and stuff your foot in there and get them stretched out just right. Wonderful slippers. We will see how these turn out. I think they'll wear fine. I don't think there's any problem with that. It's just, will I be able to see those stitches? I love felting that is just smooth as solid surface. All right, I will keep you posted on this. You can see here that I opted for that pixel really thick green and white. And I'm getting down to the end, and it's getting really difficult to do this with one needle, even if I pull it through. So I've got another pair, and I'm gonna knit about half of the circumference here onto a second needle, so that it'll give me just more wiggle room, easier to knit, till I get to my last 8 stitches. And at that point, you just draw the yarn through it like a drawstring and close it off and tie it up. Now, knitting this with these thick needles and this thick yarn is hard on the hands. That is not easy, but it doesn't last for too long. I did go back last night and looked at some of my videos when I made these before and realized that I used to use much bigger needles when I use this bigger yarn. I also, because the yarn is so big, I may end up with a really hefty size of slipper, and I may need to reduce it quite a bit. Now you can see where I am doing my decreasing here as I go to the toe. And I've got 4 of these around the opening. Now I'm going to knit 2 together here as one of my reductions. This is so tight. This will be very hard to get through. I can just get part of it through, I can pull it. And go ahead and do 2 together again. All knitting is not glorious. Some of it is just hard work. Okay, I've got a good chunk on that side and a good chunk on this side. This will make it a little easier to proceed. Now I have another reduction right here. Don't have much on this side. Getting close to the end. Okie dokie. I'm down to my last 8 stitches. See how small that hole is there? And a couple of times I even had to pull out a crochet hook when I needed to do a reduction, a decrease, to get through both of the stitches in order to pull the yarn through, because it was just too tight and too difficult to do with a knitting needle. But that worked fine. Now I'm going to cut myself a bit of a tail and put it on a tapestry needle and thread it through and pull it tight and secure it on the inside. And then I'll stitch up the back of the heel. Now this is a spot where I had the end of one yarn and the beginning of another, one skein. And so I don't want a knot on the inside. So I'm also going to take a tapestry needle and just run these 2 ends through here so it'll be smoother. The same with this. I just don't want to have any knots on the inside of my slipper because those are uncomfortable. All right. There's the first one before felting. All right, after much joint pain, I finished these, I finished knitting them. Now they are massive. I'm a little concerned about how they're going to shrink up. But all you can do, it's magic when you put wool into a washing machine and see what you get. So I'm going to put them in there with some bath towels and some tennis balls and maybe a pair of blue jeans and see how they shrink up. And I will let you know before I post this. It should be happening in the next couple of hours. Hello everybody, it's Friday, and in a few hours I have family coming, grandbabies coming, and so I'm busy washing bathtubs and toilets and doing sheets and laundry, blah blah blah. But I wanted to let you know how the slippers went. Now I took those slippers and put them into the washing machine on hot and like a super heavy load, and I put them in there with 3 towels and 2 tennis balls. And the first time I washed them, I really couldn't tell a difference. And then I was scared that somehow I had ended up with some superwash wool. I was like, no. But I did it again, and the second time I didn't do the towels. I put a pair of blue jeans in there and the 2 tennis balls to leave more room for them to get pounded by the tennis balls, if that makes any sense. And then I did it a third time. And the second time I could tell they were felting, so that was nice. They were shrinking up and the fibers were combining. And then this is the third time. And I'll be honest, when I put these on my feet, they were too small by just a bit, but they were wet. And I didn't ever put them in the dryer. I guess If they were huge in an act of desperation, maybe the dryer would help. But I really think it's the agitation of the washing machine that does it. Okay, so here they are. When they were too small on my feet, I went and found 2 tall shampoo bottles, and I put them in there because they were just the right length to really almost look like as like a shoe stretcher. And so hopefully they'll go on a little easier. And but I think they look really cute. It takes time for them to go from being like this, like a sandwich, to being used to go this way, to flatten out this way. It takes a while for them to understand. Your foot will eventually win, believe me. It has muscle and the yarn does not. But I'm going to put them on, show you what my feet look like, and then we'll be done for this week because I've got some stuff to go do. There they are. They're really roomy here on the top, but like I said, they'll eventually flatten out. I like that they're roomy inside. I don't want a tight slipper. Isn't that cute? These will last such a long time because they're very thick. But it's been fun. I'm so glad I did another pair of these. Next time, I'm not doing that super chunky yarn that I used here. It was really thick. It was hard on my thumbs and my wrists. It was really hard. So if you're young and you don't have trouble with your thumbs yet and your wrist with knitting, then go for it. I'm going to go back to some of that thinner yarn, probably that really dark stuff that was on top of that basket. I might make another pair. That was a very dark blue, and that would be pretty. So we'll see. Thanks for joining me, people. See ya. Bye-bye.